Mohammed bin Salam is getting in big trouble because of the punishments he's been giving in F1 racing, and his latest fight with Verstappen might be the final thing that gets him fired from being the FIA president. No matter how you look at it, he's been making weird rules while he's been in charge. And lots of important people are leaving the FIA, which shows he's just not good at being the leader. But now that the drivers and team bosses are getting really mad, can we actually see him getting replaced? And if that happens, who would be the best person to take his job? There's no question that the FIA has been getting criticized a lot in the past few years, mostly because of how bin Salam has been running things. The former race car driver started acting like the FIA was his own playground, and he made decisions like not letting drivers share their personal thoughts or political opinions without getting permission first from the people in charge. He also said drivers would get big punishments for swearing when they get excited during races. This made drivers worry that racing was going to turn into a silly show. The latest problem happened at the race in Jeddah, where the FIA decided to give Verstappen a 5-second punishment for a racing accident with Perez in the first turn on the first lap. Many people agreed with the punishment. Some said it should have been a 10-second punishment. But the fact that bin Salam went to talk to Verstappen after the race shows how scared he was that the Dutch driver's words were going to make the FIA look bad. You could clearly see that Verstappen was really angry after the race, and honestly, he had every right to be mad. But the way bin Salam handled it showed a lot more than he probably wanted it to. Nobody in Formula 1 likes him, and no matter how hard he tries, it's just not enough. And frankly, he should have seen this coming. When you have problems with a 7-time world champion like Lewis, who said publicly that he doesn't respect you, and then you have a 4-time world champion like Verstappen who said he won't talk to reporters because of the punishments, then you might need to think again about your choices. And obviously there's a lot of thinking that needs to be done, because if you look at what happened inside the FIA and all the people who left recently, then you can see that bin Salam is not wanted by his own team either. That in the past few months, there have been important people leaving the organization, and the latest ones were Robert Reid and David Richards. The first guy was the vice president of the FIA, and the second one was the chairman of Motorsport UK. The reason they left was really weird. Both of them were banned from going to a World Motorsport Council meeting, a really important one where they voted on making Monaco have a rule that cars must make 2 pit stops. The reason they weren't allowed to come to this meeting is because they refused to sign an NDA, which is a paper that says you can't tell secrets. While many of you might think it's normal for top FIA members to sign this, it actually shows that the organization is working with almost no openness about important things in the sport. And this is the main reason why Robert Reid decided to leave the FIA. He felt like it was going in the wrong direction and he couldn't be part of it anymore. In a statement he wrote, Robert Reid said that the FIA is not fighting for the values he believes in, which is hurting how competitive the sport is and adding lots of unnecessary drama. This is something that needs to be brought up as an important point in the meeting that's coming up at the end of this year, where bin Salam would have to convince the board members that he's still a good choice to run the FIA the way he thinks is right. If we look at things fairly, it's worth saying that wanting to control everything in the sport might be the thing that actually kicks bin Salam out of Formula 1. The way bin Salam has been running things brought even more criticism toward the race officials, who are making questionable decisions week after week, sometimes under a lot of pressure from the FIA. This is why Verstappen refused to talk about what happened in Jeddah when talking about his own feelings about the 5-second punishment, the one that possibly took away his race win. The Dutch driver said, "The start of the race happened, turn 1 happened, and suddenly it was lap 50, it just all went super fast. The problem is that I cannot share my opinion about it because I might get punished too. It's better not to speak about it. I think it's better not to talk about it. Anything I say or try to say about it might get me in trouble. It's just the world we live in. You can't share your opinion because it's not liked apparently, or people can't handle the whole truth. Honestly, it's better if I don't say too much. Everyone gets upset about everything, and what we have right now, we cannot criticize anyway, so less talking is even better for me." We do know for sure that the GPDA, that's the drivers group, is not happy with where the sport is going either. Under bin Salam's leadership, there have been tons of statements from Alex Wurz and the president George Russell, who admitted that this has been going on for 6 months now, and the more they talk about it, the more attention they give it. So the more important bin Salam feels in the whole situation. But the last straw was definitely the rulebook that the FIA made for drivers, saying they couldn't use bad words or they might face punishments like being banned from races or losing points in the Drivers' Championship. George Russell has talked openly about the latest drama between the GPDA and the FIA, and when talking about it, the British driver was worried about the lack of openness that the organization is showing in their decisions. Furthermore, he went on to say, "Unfortunately, every time we hear some news from that side of the sport, the FIA's, it's not really a big surprise. So it's clearly a real shame to see someone who's very well respected within the sport and has been there for so long. As we keep saying, what's next? Yeah, it's a shame to see, and hopefully we can get more stability sooner rather than later." All of the drivers have 100% trust and faith in Stefano Domenicali in F1, and we know that they work together within the teams. It's in all of our interests to make something come of all of this and see stability and collaboration moving forward. We just want to work together. It doesn't make any sense to be fighting on these topics, and don't even get us started on the new jewelry ban. The drivers got really angry that they're not being treated like grown-ups by the FIA, and whether we like it or not. The situation is getting out of control again with the lack of respect from all the drivers and the public. Criticism from Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. Don't think Ben Sulayem should spend another second as the president of the sport, regardless of whether he's doing a good job or failing terribly at it. However, if we're going to look at his influence in the sport, it's pretty obvious that he's way too direct with the drivers and is crossing the line. An example of this is when he interfered with the top 3 drivers in Jeddah, or more precisely, his wish to have a word with them. He's been massively ignored by Hamilton, and the argument with Verstappen has only made things worse to a greater extent. This is not the first time that Ben Sulayem has joined the drivers in their celebrations. Quite the opposite. In Azerbaijan last year, Ben Sulayem was the one giving out the medals to the drivers on the podium, and in the history of the FIA, the presidents have not dealt with drivers in the same way that Ben Sulayem does. This raises a lot of questions about his interference in the sport, and another big reason to think that he's not the right person for the job is the last scandal he's had with F1 and Liberty Media, the company that owns the sports rights. When Liberty Media was offered a huge offer of nearly $30 million for the rights of Formula One by a Saudi Arabian fund, the American company said no without thinking twice. To this, Ben Sulayem said that maybe the sport is making itself seem too valuable, which has a big risk of losing potential partners in the growing popularity it built ever since 2017. This didn't sit well with F1's president Stefano Domenicali, who had a very angry reaction to what Ben Sulayem did. And all in all, the situation does not look good for the former driver from the UAE, of course. One of the most well-known people that has been mentioned to be Ben Sulayem's replacement is Susie Wolff. She also has a big reason to explain why Ben Sulayem is a very unlikable person on the racing grid. The investigation that the FIA started into her and Toto Wolff, without having proof and then dropping it like it never happened, has shown the world that the organization is acting on pure guessing. But Susie is a very accomplished person in this sport and has been around for quite some time now. And if there was a president that would be a great replacement for Ben Sulayem, it's definitely her. With all of this in mind, do you think that Ben Sulayem needs to get the firing that the F1 drivers and fans desperately think he deserves? And more importantly, who do you think would be a good replacement for him? Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to click on the video that's appearing on your screen right now.